Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome back. It's time for yet another exciting installment of CinemaTalk, the exclusive podcast only on RuleThirds.com. Today, on the first ever part 2 of an episode for CinemaTalk, we are going to continue our discussion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The last episode, we took a look at the past and the present, and now we're going to take a look at the future. What's left of Phase 3, what's left for the rest of the future of the MCU, and of course, why the MCU is just so goddamn awesome. So, with that being said, let's get started. My name is Larry.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Max.
All right, Rule Thirds, assemble at the lobby, of course. Let's go now.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, so I just want to settle this debate right now. Out of the Avengers, who are we? I want to discuss this just a little bit because I think I've kind of mapped out who each of us are on the team of the Avengers. All right, I think Sean is Tony Stark.
Hell yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Max. I think I was kind of thinking who you were
Hulk because he gets upset really quickly.
No. I've always seen myself as
oh,
Steve Rogers because I enjoy
would
like
go
Boy Scout
Steve
stuff.
Rogers. I'd go Steve Rogers for you.
This isn't free.
Yeah, and for me, I'd probably go Nick Fury because I'm like easily the most badass out of all of us. So
Larry,
And also,
you-
obviously, you have one eye.
Larry,
obviously, given.
you are so white.
Yeah, I know.
You can't even begin to come close to Nick. You are so white.
You know what's funny? Fun fact.
How white
Nick
is
Fury,
he?
like the design of Nick Fury played by Samuel L. Jackson, was based off the Ultimate Nick Fury, who was designed after Samuel L. Jackson. So
Yes.
he is literally playing the part whose appearance was designed after him.
Well,
Yes.
I also
Isn't that
think
cool?
I also think I'm Nick Fury because I brought us all together. Kind of how the
Okay.
Avengers also
I
Sure,
don't know.
but-
I don't know. I get more of a Thor vibe from you.
At least I'm
what-
the
need a
genius
horse.
billionaire.
Why? Because I'm
playboy.
a god. Is it because I'm godly? Is that why you get the Thor vibe? I'm just
It's because
so...
you can be kind of a brat sometimes.
Oh, okay. Wow, nice
Man,
one.
what started
as
as a hey, which one is us? Has turned into just an easy way to throw insults. I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, then
It's-
again, Sean is easily the
Well,
most snarky and
let's be real
obnoxious out of
here.
all of us. That's why he's Tony Stark. So
Yeah, let's be real here. The
Yeah,
Avengers
but
don't
I'm
really like
also
each
a
other
genius
that much.
billionaire, playboy, and philanthropist. So, boom.
Sure.
I'm like half of the 4 things I just listed.
Well, I had a date.
all right.
And
Anyway, guys.
I also confused sexual intercourse with fondue.
Yep. Weird stuff.
Okay,
Anyway,
Max. After the podcast, you
Yeah.
gotta explain that story to me.
yeah, we'll figure that out. Anyway, guys,
That was
welcome.
a long intro.
Yeah, but hey, it was a fun one. Easily one
I
of our
guess so,
better
yeah.
ones. Welcome to Cinema Talk, the Rule Thirds podcast. My name is, of course, Larry Frieden. With me, Steve Rogers, a.k.a. Max Mariner, and Tony Stark, a.k.a. Sean Capdeville. Say hi to the people.
They're not good enough to hear my hello.
Okay,
Well, I am
and
Iron Man.
that's how we'll start that off.
How do these technology things work?
Yeah,
I'm
seriously.
from the 40s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
This
you're
has got
confused.
old really quick.
Yeah,
this has.
I'm
Let's-
from
okay,
the-
we'll wrap.
Yeah,
We'll
Let's
wrap.
move on.
I'm
Let's
from
move
the
on.
40s. Anyway, so Max, good thing to see you're getting better. Your
Yeah,
voice
I'm getting
sounds a lot better. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Max.
Actually
Thanks for
wasn't
that.
planned. My body wanted you to speak dramatically ironic.
Yeah, Max is still a little sick, but you know what?
it.
He,
It's super scripted.
anyway, so just keep that in mind as you continue to watch. And
Let's get into it, guys. Come
yeah,
on.
let's get
Yeah.
into it. Let's talk about the site really quick because, of course, that's one of the most important parts. We had a few things go up on the site. On the same day that the last episode of Cinema Talk aired, I posted a very special episode of The Greats, which is on Charlie Chaplin, a personal idol for me as I continue to do research. I'm very proud of that episode. So go check that out if you're curious on learning a little bit more about one of filmmaking's most influential icons. And then I also posted a written review of Dom Hemingway. You probably don't really know about this movie, but I highly suggest you check out my written review. It's in limited theaters. I went to New York to go see it. It just happened to be one of those interesting situations where, hey, you want to go check out a movie? All right, yeah, sure. Let's go check out this Jude Law-looking film. And I was very pleasantly surprised. So you can go check out Dom Hemingway review on Rule Thirds. And then Max posted the recommendation domination for Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Max, you want to say anything about that?
It's a bit different this time. It concerns some movies that you would not normally expect to hear about, but when in regards to Captain America. But it would really easy to just like recommend movies like JFK or National Treasure, I guess, when talking about conspiracy and whatnot. But I just decided to go with something a little bit different. And one of my selections, I will defend to the death, is most certainly a movie recommendation. And you should go check it out. And let me know what you think.
And I did nothing.
And Sean did nothing.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Nice,
nothing
but,
from me. I have a review of Brevity on the way. Just for the record, I got a review of Brevity.
Wow,
maybe
that's a
2.
new thing. Sean doing reviews with Brevity?
I invented it. I'm the father of reviews with Brevity. Don't you try. I have made more than both of you. I just haven't uploaded all of them. I got a surplus that I started doing them. You know nothing.
But don't worry, Sean. Because you see, we have a little announcement to make. Now, as you all know, Transcendence came out this past weekend, but unfortunately, it bombed.
Oh my God, it bombed.
Yeah, and the mission statement, I guess, for Rule 3rd's video reviews is that we like to review films that we feel our audience most needs to hear about from us. I feel that's what we really want to do.
Plus they take a lot of time. So these movies, we don't want to just like take a lot of time on a video review for a movie that not a lot of people have seen nor have much interest in. It's a sad reality if we gotta like pick and choose what we spend our time on. So with that said,
both on a business standpoint and on a personal standpoint, we kind of
have
have
got a lot of school work. I'm in the final 2 weeks of school. So I don't know if I can fit it in.
Exactly. So we need to say a not that remorseful farewell to our thought of review for Transcendence. However, that does not mean we will not be trying to get a written review out. I think Sean was thinking of seeing Transcendence, but I don't think he will in the long run. So I think I might be doing the written review for Transcendence. So let's keep a lookout for that. But also, to give you guys some content, because we always try to give you guys as much content as possible, Sean and Max will be working together to execute to you guys a very special episode of Preview.
Yes,
to air
which we will
on
not
that
spoil.
day. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a very,
spoil.
very interesting episode of Preview that none of you will probably guess.
It's so interesting, and we can't really give many details because we came up with the idea a few minutes before hitting record on this podcast.
Yeah,
exact same call.
Hooray for spontaneity! In fact,
hooray for impromptu.
We don't have any details.
Dare I say it might transcend what we originally had planned for next Saturday.
I swear to God, Max.
Get out, Max. Get out right
now. Get out of here. Get out of here.
We're only 8 minutes into the podcast. Maybe we should start talking about the topic.
Yeah, I feel like that's an important thing to do on these things.
Right. All right. So we're done with what's on the site. Let's move on to the topic at hand. As I mentioned before, we are continuing our discussion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the last episode, we took a look at essentially what's already been given to us from Marvel. A lot of great movies, but now we got to take a look at what's coming up ahead. So we talked about Captain America 2 in the last episode. We're going to continue with Guardians of the Galaxy, which is probably definite. If you thought like if you thought that The Incredible Hulk was like a Marvel outlier, this film is like the black sheep. I feel this is a very black. I know that's a little derogatory.
It's probably going to be the most ambitious thing Marvel's done since the Avengers.
Yeah. And I know that saying a black sheep is kind of derogatory to some, but like I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm very excited to see how Guardians
I think we all are.
Yeah, it's
as you point out, Sean, it's just a sci-fi movie, sci-fi action movie disguised as a superhero movie or a comic book.
It's like, hey, here's a weird sci-fi movie. We're not interested. Oh, but Marvel.
Yeah. It's really the first time I can think of where a studio is selling the thing. It's like, it's like only something
big deal if it needs to succeed. It's funny, though, because I was watching, when I was in the theater for Captain America, some guys, other college students, 3 of them below my roommates and I, when we were watching, during the Guardians trailer, of course it played before Winter Soldier, they were reciting it.
That's awesome.
Like, while it was going.
I mean, hopefully it wasn't too irritating. That's awesome.
Well, no, they were irritating during the movie. They were plenty irritating during the movie. I was going to kick their seat. But I can... controlled myself. But yeah, it was interesting to see, like, people actually are excited for this movie. So much so that they were kind of reciting along with a trailer, just the single trailer they've released, which, by the way, I reviewed on Preview, so go check that out.
Yeah, it's really
link below.
You see, if Marvel gets away with this, like if Marvel brings it to the bank, I mean, obviously, if it had, I hope it's good. But like, if it makes money, and it does, because of its kind of obscure roots, it really does mean that Marvel can do pretty much anything it wants now because the studio itself is selling it. Like outside of Disney, where do you hear about like a studio selling something to the audience just based on the name? Like, it's Marvel? We gotta check it out. Also, the prospect of it having to do with the MCU might entice some people like, hey...
Yes, the director confirmed that it leads into Avengers 3.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting.
Yeah,
Avengers
weird.
3, even though 2 isn't even coming out until next year.
3, so... But we'll get to Avengers 3.
Right.
Do we have anything else to say about Guardians?
It's got a great cast.
It does.
I just want to mention Chris Pratt specifically because we've never really seen Chris Pratt in a leading role, as far as I'm aware, or at least in a leading role where he has that much to chew on.
Yeah, and in a live-action movie, because he was sort of in a leading role in an animated movie recently. Larry, come on.
Which we reviewed, like a movie. Go check that out.
Lego Movie. Well, you see, the thing about that is he plays an everyman, so it's a bit of a.
Well, he's sort of the everyman in this,
Lego...
right? He's the only regular dude.
Well, right, but see, the difference here is that the Lego Movie was like a little children's film that nobody expected to be as great as it actually was.
Guardians of the Galaxy has a heaping amount of expectations behind it.
Exactly,
and it's James Gunn, so if nothing else, it's going to be nice and high energy.
Right, James Gunn is great at that kind of stuff. And, honestly, I saw Delivery Man recently. Plus, there's a review with brevity on Rule of Thirds, which you can check out. And despite how lackluster that movie really is in general, Chris Pratt is hilarious in it. So I have very high hopes that Chris Pratt can lead this movie to justice and success.
Yeah.
So Guardians looks very interesting.
Yeah.
And we will probably be reviewing it here on Rule Thirds. And yeah.
And as I mentioned last time on part 1 of this, which you should probably go listen to if you haven't, it's interesting how Guardians of the Galaxy, just like Captain America, the first Avenger, is taking place in a completely different setting right after, right before the big Avengers thing comes out. So, I mean, instead of having this one movie come right before the Avengers happens, we have to sit back and okay, meanwhile, in another section, this is happening. So, I still think it's a really cool idea, and I wonder if they're going to do that for Avengers 3. But anyway, let's move on to the big guy, to the big boy.
Right, it adds layers, is what you're saying, which is cool. Anyway, so now we have Avengers 2. Now, me and Max could splooge all that we wanted to about Avengers 2, but it seems like one of us here happens to have a theory about what's exactly going to be going down.
But it's just a theory.
And that happens to be... Oh, shut up.
A movie theory.
Thanks for watching. No, but Sean has a theory about how Avengers 2 is going to go down, so
yes.
Keep your ears open, people.
Keep it compact, my friend.
I have a very educated guess. Having a roommate who's obsessed with superheroes, he knows all about Ultron. Me knowing a lot about the cinematic universe, kind of seeing what happened in Iron Man 3 and especially Winter Soldier. Well, okay, especially Iron Man 3, also Winter Soldier. I have a good theory of what's going to happen. For those who don't know, Ultron is usually built by Ant-Man, Hank Pym, but I hope that's not going to happen because he hasn't been introduced yet. That would be incredibly weak if just this villain arrives and they say, "Who built you?" "Oh, don't worry, he's in the next movie." That's weak.
Weak.
So that leads to the first point. He's a sentient, not android. He's a robot that just messes stuff up. Which leads to the first point being, I believe that Tony Stark will be the one that builds Ultron. Because, again, spoilers for Iron Man 3, spoilers for any Marvel movie released, of course.
Yeah, guys, honestly,
we talked about all of them.
Yeah, guys, come on, spoilers. Let's be real.
Spoiler for Iron Man 3. At the end, he gives up being Iron Man. He gets the arc reactor removed. He destroys his suits. He is no longer Iron Man. That's a big deal. So what I think what's going to happen is it's going to open with Cap'n, probably just Cap'n, rushing in to help with... I think Nick Fury's going to come in at the beginning of Ultron. I think that's where he headed. He said he's going to Europe at the end of Winter Soldier. I think he's going to find the twins, who are Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, which are in the post-credit scene. So I think Cap'n's going to rush in and say, hey... probably Hulk, too. Cap'n and Hulk will go in. They'll beat up some Hydra kind of people. They'll release those two and say, hey, why don't you join our team? And then they're going to approach Tony and say, we got this team thing going, and we kind of want you. He's going to say, no, but I will make a replacement. Here's this robot who's awesome and pretty much like me, only super intelligent, and there's no human error. So he's going to create this robot, and the robot's going to have its own intelligence based off Jarvis, I believe. And then it's going to say, I think I should. I just have this weird feeling like I should kill all humans. And like, can we not? He's like, no, but I feel like killing all humans. So he's going around trying to kill humans, and that will bring Tony Stark back when his invention starts killing humans. That's part one of what I think is going to happen.
Okay, and now here's a question: what are they going to avenge?
That's actually an excellent question. I don't know yet.
Do you think they'll kill do you think Avengers 2 will come the death of Nick Fury?
It could.
He's in hiding and then Ultron just shows up and
But I feel like if they were gonna kill him off, you would have just done it in Winter Soldier, like they pretty much they pretended they did.
Yeah, but all the Avengers would have to be there to see it, and he would blast a hole through him, like to the point where there would be no way that he could come back. You hear me, Marvel? No way you can bring him back.
Okay.
I think maybe
maybe.
I love Nick Fury. I'm not saying he should die. I'm just saying that would be a good martyr.
I guess maybe a more major character, maybe like Iron Man or Captain America, because
they're not going to kill
I still think killing Iron Man would be really cool. I love Iron Man, but I think it would be interesting for him
Avengers 3.
Yeah,
they will.
I think
but they're going to save it because Robert Downey Jr. is such a big star. He's drawing so much money.
Yeah, it really is.
Iron Man 3
difference.
made $1.2 billion. That's infinitely more. Okay,
and
that's
they're still
twice
not
as much
planning
as
Iron Man
Thor
4, which is interesting. But
because they're done. Yeah, I love Iron Man 3 as a finale to Iron Man's saga. Now he'll continue along with the Avengers. But they'll kill him off in Avengers 3, I'm sure. Same with Rogers, because I think Bucky's going to come in and take over. That's a very common thing that happens in the comics. But we'll get to that with Avengers 3.
It does come down to a question of business versus just good storytelling. And I wish they didn't have that burden, but we'll take what we can
sometimes collide.
Yeah,
sometimes collide.
Mm-hmm. Marvel is a conglomerate.
Look at Avengers. So that was an awesome story thing. And it made so much money. Okay, so the second part of the Ultron equation that I think will play a huge part is in Winter Soldier, the Arnim-Zola equation, algorithm. The algorithm that lets whoever's running it predict the actions of everyone based on their previous actions, based on the internet. The internet
this
tells
is how
what
S.H.I.E.L.D. basically ruled the world.
Right, exactly. Or how they were about to.
And how they shaped them. They literally, that's people have been forgetting about that. S.H.I.E.L.D. literally shaped the course of history to by using the Winter Soldier to change certain events, to assassinate certain people.
S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't do that. Hydra did that.
Hydra
did that.
Hydra was
S.H.I.E.L.D.'s
S.H.I.E.L.D.
nose.
basically.
No. Hydra was a hiding inside S.H.I.E.L.D., but S.H.I.E.L.D. had no idea that this was them.
Okay,
These
fine.
assassinations and stuff. Anyway, the Arnim-Zola equation, because I feel like that algorithm is so important to Winter Soldier, and I don't think it's just gone. It's a digital thing. It's not like it's gone. And just imagine if Ultron got a handle on that.
He'd be unstoppable.
He just plugs in. Exactly. He can predict anyone's movements. The only movements he couldn't predict would be Thor. What online history does Thor have?
Well, besides with his involvement in S.H.I.E.L.D., but that is very minimal in comparison to the rest of the characters.
But more importantly, armies would be so easy. It's not just the Avengers he has to avoid. This is a worldwide villain. Yeah. That's why I like kind of this escalation. Yeah. Loki was attacking a city. It would have expanded worldwide, but the fight was in a city. Ultron's going to be worldwide. And then, of course, Thanos in Avengers 3 is going to be messing up the galaxy. What was my point here? Oh, right. So it's a worldwide thing. So he's going to have to deal with armies. Full on, the U.S. Army is going to try to kill him. And that's so easy to predict. Because if he can hack, especially if he can hack into their systems, So I think it's a big part. Which leads me to the question, what was the point of Thor the Dark World again? It's this weird... What's weird is that Thor is the only reason the Avengers happened, right? The events in Thor created the villain for the Avengers, and now all of a sudden Thor 2, nothing.
Yeah. He doesn't really bring up much. Now, here's a question. Here's a question. Yeah. Now... we haven't even mentioned it on the show for whatever reason, but next year we're actually going to be getting 4 different TV shows from exclusively from Netflix based in the MCU, based on Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage.
No, I think it's a separate universe.
No, it's the MCU. I'm almost sure it's in the MCU, and it takes place in New York. Now, does that mean will Avengers 2 also take place in New York?
No. Well, I mean, some of it, I'm sure, that's where the Avengers Tower is, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is very true. I would think they bring it all over the world. Like, I don't know. Like
they will. Avengers, they're already filming
they're
in
filming
South
in Korea.
Korea.
They're filming everywhere. Yeah.
And South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of South places.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It's
interesting.
Also, I want to bring up, that's a cool thought. Like, I don't know why, it keeps hitting me right now as we're speaking. They're filming Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
That's cool to me. And they're filming Star Wars Episode 7, which will absolutely be an episode of the podcast where we talk about what we're expecting, but we'll get closer to release date.
Yeah, but anyway, I think we've made our point. So that's Phase 2, I suppose.
Yes, that is the end of Phase 2. Ultron, of course, marks the end.
Yes, so...
Phase 3 begins with...
Phase 3 begins with Ant-Man.
Just 2 months after the...
Avengers 2.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Avengers 2, look, based on the success of the first Avenger, Age of Ultron is still going to be in theaters when Ant-Man releases. That's weird to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's theoretical.
It only gives people more opportunity to get caught up. So
I guess so.
Okay, real quick. I just looked it up. Marvel Netflix shows to take place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just to clear that up.
All right.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, so Ant-Man.
So before we move on with this, a little point that we want to discuss, just a quick refresher on Ant-Man, because he's a little bit more obscure. He is a member of the Avengers.
One of the original members
in comics. Yeah, he was one of the original founding members. Essentially, this guy, his name was Hank Pym, and so Hank Pym created these things called Pym particles, which allows him to transform down to the size of an ant. And then later in the comics, he was able to edit his formula in a way that he could become giant, thus Giant Man, which is the name he would take on later. So that's really all you need to know. There's more history with other characters, but in the meantime, as long as you know that idea, you can go into Ant-Man knowing enough as far as the MCU is concerned.
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
Now there's a slight disagreement here with the Rule Thirds trio about the director's chair. For those who are not aware, Edgar Wright is in the director's chair for Ant-Man, which was a very different decision as far as Marvel films go.
Now, Larry, tell me, what
ones.
other films did Edgar Wright direct?
Oh, well, Max, let me tell you. Edgar Wright is the director of the Cornetto trilogy, the infamous trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End.
Infamous.
Yeah, infamous means bad, dude.
Infamous, sorry. I slipped.
Maybe it should be infamous. No, but I like movies. Seriously, though, I do like the movies.
Yeah, the popular trilogy.
He's also responsible for writing the screenplay for The Adventures of Tintin, and he directed Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Indeed. So he's a very eclectic.
He's a kick-ass director. I mean, eclectic director.
He's a very interesting guy, and so we've seen some weird directorial decisions before. We've seen Marvel take some risk. We've seen Kenneth Branagh. We've seen Shane Black.
Joe Johnston.
We've seen some out there, but this is definitely one of the larger leaps that Marvel has done. Now, Max likes this decision that Edgar Wright is in the director's chair.
Yes.
Sean is concerned.
I'm very concerned.
I'll be honest, Sean's got a valid reason for being concerned.
Why are you concerned?
Well, because Edgar Wright, I mean, if you look at his work, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, Scott Pilgrim, those are the 4 I've seen of his. Is that all he's directed? I feel like there's one more that I'm missing. Or is that all
Scott Pilgrim, Hot Fuzz, The World's End, Shaun of the Dead. No, I think those like the 4 movies he's done.
So having seen all the movies he's directed, all of them have one shared trait, and that is they are very self-aware. They are very much movies that are obviously movies. This is stuff like Tarantino always does this, where he uses techniques that are obviously there, so you see how smart of a film it is. It wants you to know it's a film. It's not as invisible as normal Hollywood films. I think it's pretty obvious. Look, especially Scott Pilgrim, that it's very much. It's aware it's a movie, and it wants the audience aware. It's not hiding anything. And that works. That worked for all of his movies. Again, I enjoy the Cornetto trilogy, and I like Scott Pilgrim. However, none of the Marvel movies have ever had even a hint of that kind of style. I mean, the closest we've come is there's just some humor. I really
the comedy
can't think,
snark of Iron Man. I mean, that's
that's about it. And Guardians is probably going to be really comedic more than serious, but it's not going to be anywhere near what the Cornetto trilogy does or what Scott Pilgrim did. So my concern is that really it's two things. Edgar Wright has not done anything that isn't in this style yet, so that makes me concerned that he's going to do it in that style, which will not fit with Marvel's cinematic universe at all. It'll be so philosophically different, it will be jarring. And even if he doesn't do that style, the fact that he hasn't done a style different, it's just kind of basic inexperience. Now, of course, I'm not saying he's going to be crap because he hasn't done it. I'm just saying that his forte will not be used. Like, this isn't his forte. Now, there could be a plus side. It could be his opportunity to expand and try something different, which I'm all for any director to expand and try something new. So it could be a good thing, but at the same time, this might not be the best movie for him to get used to the new philosophy behind it. You know, this is a Marvel movie. The first of Phase 3, a lot is riding on it. So I'm kind of concerned that it will stumble a bit because of either he's new or because it won't fit if he does his old shtick of self-awareness. End of rant.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's why I'm concerned. Never again, I want to bring up that he is a good director. I respect him as a director. He's a good director. It's just his style. So I don't want to offend any Edgar Wright fans, especially you, Max.
I see.
But that is my concern.
And it's a valid one.
Well, I mean, it is a valid point. I agree. Although I think Edgar Wright is smart enough. I think he's smart enough to understand the how much this film is riding as far as the MCU goes. Now, to be fair, even if the film did go with that style, as a film on its own, it could be really good. Like, that's not.
Yes,
I say that style wouldn't make it bad.
That's the problem. It's not a film on its own. That's something I wanted to bring up in the... I kind of felt bad in the Winter Soldier review. I kept saying it doesn't fit in with the rest of the MCU as well. It doesn't feel as cohesive as the other movies. And when I was rewatching, I'm like, is this fair? Like, I always argue to take movies as themselves, like on their own, as a standalone thing.
And the MCU has kind of made that difficult, huh?
Exactly. That's kind of the problem, and we'll get to that discussion at the end when we discuss why it works so well. But it is tricky. It is impossible now to take them out of context. So, sure, standalone and Ant-Man that's self-aware could be good.
Yeah.
But this is 2 months after Avengers Age of Ultron, which is going to be super dedicated to its own reality. It's not going to be self-aware at all. And it's going to be a huge deal. So people are going to see that. And then 2 months later, they're going to see Shaun of the Dead only with people shrinking. You know what I mean?
Again, I think you need to put a little bit more faith in the directors. Marvel would not do this if the people behind Marvel, Kevin Feige, all those guys, they wouldn't have done this if they thought they were going to come up with like a director who's so invested in his own style that he won't like make some kind of change.
True.
Right. This isn't like Tarantino, you know. This is Edgar Wright, you know.
Oh man, Tarantino doing a Marvel
I was
movie.
just thinking that would be crazy.
That would be
crazy.
He would do Black Panther. He would do Black Panther.
Well, I would want him to do something like I would want him to do something on the darker side with maybe like Blade or Ghost Rider, something on the darker side of the Marvel spectrum, because then you could get violent.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could do a good Luke Cage film if you gave him the right materials. So yes, Ant-Man. I think we all agree we're interested to see how it turns out.
Yeah,
it definitely has an interesting.
And that test footage is awesome. If that's what the action looks like, I'm totally down.
Mm-hmm. Plus, it's got an interesting cast. It's got Michael Douglas. It's got Paul Rudd. And then is it still rumored Evangeline Lilly is rumored to be the Wasp? Is that
I'm not sure.
Rumor?
Now, here's something you should know about the comics, just so you guys know, and just for the context of what the kind of source material. You see, they were part of the original Avengers, and one of the reasons why Ant-Man and Wasp just kind of took off, like they just kind of like got taken out of the Avengers at a certain point, that was because it was highly suggested. Like it wasn't too subtle in the fact that it was kind of shown as an abusive marriage, with Hank Pym kind of being abusive, like in the fucking comics. Like,
I don't think they'll go that route.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I just find that interesting in how, like, you know, I don't think they're going to address it, but if they did, how would they? I mean, it just, you know, it was really suggestive. This is one of the things.
Well,
that
I mean, to be fair,
and is that why they didn't have Ant-Man in the original Avengers team, or was it just because he's a bit maybe too weird?
Well, the issue with that theory here, is that this is going to sound really weird, but there are rumors going around that the Wasp is actually going to be Ant-Man's daughter in the films.
Yeah.
I don't hold that. I'm holding that to a grain of salt right now. But
I guess we'll find out then. We'll find out
Marvel
next
takes
July.
risks. Marvel takes risks, and we'll have to see how that turns out.
They do things that are not so predicted. Anyway,
exactly. So we got that's Ant-Man. That is, besides that, then the only other film that's been especially confirmed for Phase 3, besides of course Avengers 3, is
Captain America. The
3,
non-subtitle.
Yes, Captain America 3 and Thor 3 is pretty much confirmed at this point, right? I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
It'd be weird to not get Thor. So let's talk Captain 3 first.
Yeah.
Really brief, what I think is going to happen is the first part will be them finding Bucky and say, Bucky, you should be a good guy. Now I was like, I don't think I can. And then some other threat, maybe Red Skull will return. That's something that could easily happen because he wasn't killed.
Or maybe
he was
that
shot
Baron
off into
von Stryker guy.
Yes.
I'd like to tackle them. I'd like for them to tackle something new. That would be more preferable.
Yeah.
Basically, it's going to make Bucky a hero. That's going to kind of be the thing. Bucky's going to become a hero over the course. Now, maybe they kill off Captain at the end of Captain 3, and Bucky is there for Avengers 3, or maybe he dies in Avengers 3, and Bucky takes over post-Phase 3 Captain America.
Right.
We'll have to see, but Bucky's going to play a huge part in Captain America 3. That's all I know.
Yeah,
now, there's something in...
Oh, really quick thing. Another thing. Agent Zero Carter. Agent Carter.
Yeah.
The new one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The one that was barely in Winter Soldier, but they clearly established who she was.
Yeah.
She assassinates Captain America.
What?
In the comics. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that.
Wait, what?
During the Civil War storyline.
Lady?
But no.
Wait.
I just said the new Carter. The new one, Carter. Agent, the neighbor that turned out to be...
Oh, Agent 13. Yeah. Oh, I thought...
13, thank you. She assassinates Captain America during the Civil War storyline. Now, could that be building... Could they be including her to build up to that in Captain 3 or Avengers 3? Maybe. We'll have to see. Because it's weird to include her when they're not going to do the most critical thing. It's like if they didn't do the Winter Soldier storyline, even though they included Bucky. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
You don't name the character that.
Now I have a separate theory regarding the story, and it has to do with one of the more famous parts of Captain America's history. You guys ever heard of Nomad?
No.
You see in the comics, Captain America he was big in the 40s, and then in the 50s things changed because of the Red Scare that was going around. They changed Captain America to be more of like a huge anti-communist guy, and they basically people didn't like that, and this is during the 50s where comics were almost dead, pretty much. They're like, okay. And then in the 60s, when they brought Marvel back into the, when Marvel went into the Silver Age, they're like, that guy was actually an imposter. The real Steve Rogers was frozen. I wonder if they're going to implement that, because that's a very famous part of the publication of Captain America. In which
Captain?
Yeah, an imposter captain called, I think it was Nomad. I think that was his name. Or
that could have a lot of weird turns in the MCU. If they were going to implement that, like, Sean, you mentioned something about how you thought that if Hydra was so well implemented, they would have just killed Captain America immediately. Maybe this Captain America we've gotten to used to is a clone, and they still have the real one frozen. It's just a theory. It's probably not real. I know, it's very weak. It's a weak idea.
I really hope they don't do that.
I don't think they're going to do that either. But it's an interesting thing to think about if that was
or
the case.
It could be that the Nomad is the one who kills Steve Rogers. So we could
that could happen.
Nomad. I'll do more research on that guy.
And then
I'll
Bucky
see,
comes in and owns.
For those
honestly, I hope Captain dies, because Bucky is so much cooler and more intimidating physically.
Yeah, I think we kind of... Did we establish essentially what happened? For those of you who don't know, I hope this isn't really spoiling, but Captain America gets assassinated in the comics. That's what happens.
This is at the end of the Civil War timeline, which is basically when all superheroes in the Marvel Universe turn on each other.
It's Tony Stark versus Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Max.
I was just thinking.
We are going to do the Civil War storyline.
Oh, that's so great.
You're going to be assassinated.
I'm so happy I brought that up in the intro.
I'm going to fall into a deep depression fueled by my alcoholism. So I don't know who gets it better.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway,
Yeah.
So
that's
yeah,
all
so
I have for Captain 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much
Thor
to be
3.
There's not much more to be said after that. Thor 3, I don't really know
I have
what they're
no
gonna
idea.
do.
Like,
Yeah,
maybe
you know,
there's going to be... I feel like...
It's gonna be in Loki's ass, because Loki's apparently, like, now in...
Yeah, Loki's the king now.
Where's Dad?
Yeah,
Loki,
that's a
and
big
why the hell are
implication.
you
No,
sitting
like
on the
that,
throne?
I wonder if that's going to be brought up in Avengers too.
Maybe.
Yeah, Loki,
But-
what the hell are you doing in Dad's throne? And where's Dad? That's important.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
hell?
That's about it. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, I think they
'Cause
might
I
try
don't know
implementing
any Thor storylines, except maybe Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Ragnarok is one of the few, but Thor dies in Ragnarok.
yeah,
so I don't think they're going to
exactly.
do it. And Ragnarok is bigger than even Thanos, so it'd be weird if they kept
know.
it for a Thor movie.
What's even weirder is that like Malekith in Thor 2 was so weak.
Yeah.
Like they kind of showed us that like if they're going to implement a Thor villain, they probably won't care about the villain's future, which upsets me because I think that Malekith could have had potential, but really they squandered it. So I'm hoping Thor 2 plays it a little safer
Thor 3.
than what they did with the second one. Thor 3, sorry. I hope Thor 3 plays it safer. But I think it still should be implemented in the MCU, more so than Thor 2 was.
Which leads to Avengers 3.
Oh, right, which leads to... let's just establish, I will predict that they will be doing a Doctor Strange movie for Phase 3.
Perhaps.
They name-dropped him in Winter Soldier. That gives me a pretty good implication. Plus, Doctor Strange is very involved in the intergalactic elements of the Marvel universe.
Which means he might be the one to bring the Guardians of the Galaxy into Avengers 3 with,
Exactly.
Perhaps.
Yes,
Definitely
I could see that. I could see that very much so happening. Plus, Doctor Strange is awesome. Like, his character and his personality is
And his
awesome.
costume is awesome.
His costume is fantastic. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Hey, maybe we'll see a hinting of some other more intergalactic people, besides for the ones we've already established. And then at the end of Phase 3, we will have the warmonger that is Avengers 3.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
I think, just going right off Thor 3, my theory of how Avengers 3 is going to start is, if you remember, Thanos was behind Avengers 1, kind of. He was the one that gave Loki the army. Mm-hmm. And Loki's lieutenant said, if you fail us, we're going to murder you. In fewer words, that's what he said.
Right, yeah.
So I think Avengers 3 is going to start with Thanos breaking into... where's Thor? Where does he live?
Asgard.
It's Asgard, thank you. I was totally spacing on the name. Thanos is going to break into Asgard and kill Loki. Just boom, flat out in the first 15, 20 minutes.
And that's how you make a
Loki
hateable
will
villain,
be
by
dead.
killing off literally the most popular
because-
villain in the world right now.
And what's funny is that would be the person they avenge, but not for them. I don't think they would see it that way. But the audience, they know we love Loki.
Yeah.
I mean, we love Loki.
So
Fans of MCU are in love with Loki.
Yeah.
So if
I mean,
they
do you know how
open
many
their
fans? Do
Avengers
you know,
3,
like, the entirety of female MCU fans are probably also Loki fangirls. Let's be real.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so I think that's what's going to happen, because he's going for revenge. He hates Loki now because he failed him. And that's his first step. I think the Guardians will be pulled in after that. Asgard will be attacked. Thor will escape after seeing Loki killed. Get to Earth. They say, we need some help. And Stephen Strange will say, okay, I'm going to go get some help. And the Guardians will say, I'm a raccoon. I'll help.
Right.
And that's what's going to go down.
But that brings up,
And I
want to bring up a point. I want to bring up an interesting point. Now, for those who don't know, essentially, I personally think that the main thing that's holding the entire universe together, besides for Nick Fury, like on a SHIELD level, is the Infinity Gauntlet. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Essentially,
Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet.
The Thanos was at the ending, the mid-credit scene of Avengers, right? And he's like crazy powerful, on his own, but he is like 100 times as powerful with this glove-ish kind of thing. It's called the Infinity Gauntlet. It essentially is run on 6 different gems. 6 gems?
Yeah, 2 of which we've seen
Yeah.
so far.
Right.
They're setting it
2.
up.
Right, we've seen 2.
So we've seen 2.
We've seen the
We've seen the blue.
and the
we've seen
mind
the blue,
gem.
and we've seen the red. The red. Now, we obviously know that sooner or later we're gonna see more of the gems, and that I think that essentially we're gonna see another gem in Thor 3. We're gonna see a gem with Doctor Strange. I think we're gonna see a gem with Guardians. And then I think the final gem is going to be brought up in Avengers 3. But that brings up a question. Do you think that Thanos is going to have the Infinity Gauntlet completed before Avengers 3 or during it? Do you think that's going to during?
Yeah.
That's going to kind of be them.
The Infinity Gauntlet literally gives you the powers
gauntlet.
of a god. So
Exactly.
that's going to be like the final
it can
battle.
distort reality.
Right. I think that if Thanos got it ready before the films,
It's done.
Yeah.
they'd
In the
all be
bag.
obliterated
Kaboom.
off screen.
Over.
But that's good. That's what's going to happen. Thanos is going to get it in the bag, and shit's going to go down really badly.
Yes.
And I can't even imagine how Joss Whedon is planning on putting that to film. But
I really want to talk to him. What are you doing? You're brilliant, but I'm so
brilliant.
worried about this.
yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. But that's essentially what we're thinking. Now, let's go past Phase 3.
Quick thing.
Oh,
I really
what?
want to argue really quick. We touched on it. I don't think Tony Stark or Captain Rogers, Iron Man, Captain America, I don't think either will survive.
Oh, okay,
Avengers
yeah,
3.
That's debatable.
Yeah.
I would.
I
would
don't
debate
think-
that.
I don't think either will.
Yeah, and I think that'll be by the time Chris Evans will be, his contract will be up.
Yep. Well, that's both of them. They both sign on for 6 films.
Yeah, so...
Not including cameos. So, Incredible Hulk doesn't count for Robert Downey
Yeah,
Jr.
and then Thor 2
doesn't count for
that
Chris
was just a
Evans.
favor, yeah.
6 movies, so they got 3 Avengers and then 3 of their own. So then they'll be done. So I think they're both going to die. Bucky's going to take over. The Winter Soldier, if you didn't know, is going to take over. I don't know who's
Right.
going to take over for Iron Man, but
Pepper Potts.
maybe no one.
Yeah. Now that would be
Rescue
interesting.
is a thing. Rescue, yeah. I don't think so though. Rescue is her name. She gets a suit.
that's
It's a
awesome.
Anyway,
Yep.
yeah, Rescue. If you Max, I don't know if you played Lego Marvel Superheroes enough, but she's unlockable there.
Oh, cool.
That's a sweet game, by the way. Can I just? It's a Marvel podcast. It's appropriate. Get that game. It's so cool.
Yeah, I have the game. Yeah,
I
it's good.
played a bit of it. It's great.
Yeah,
It's great. Yeah.
I love the Lego games. By the way. Anyway,
So
by the
let's.
way, this episode of CinemaTalk brought to you by Lego.
Yeah.
yeah.
It is
so-
not. We're not sponsored.
No.
That'd be nice though, Lego. If you want to send some a check,
Go
I want to
ahead.
do Lego Rule Thirds, right here.
Yeah, Lego.
oh, that'd be sweet.
Lego Rule Third sets.
All right.
Anyway, so let's go past Phase 3. Let's go way. Now, I personally don't see an end happening to the MCU for a very long time.
They have plans
Probably
until
not.
2028
Yeah.
right now.
But as
That's
far
insane.
as we know, all good things must come to an end.
Yes, and it's going to end
Yes.
eventually. It's just not going to end on a whimper.
So we need to ask ourselves, how do we think that the MCU is going to tie itself down and finish it?
I have no idea, honestly.
I think that they're gonna try to replicate something akin to, you know how the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games was the Civil War period pretty much encapsulated in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna bring that in, for sure, and then they're gonna make it oh no, we have to team up together to stop every single villain ever, and they're it's gonna be the ultimate hero villain holy crap. That's the only way they could. I mean, how else are they going to end a Marvel Cinematic Universe that's grown so large?
Here's what I'm thinking. I think the age of the, as Baron von whatever his name is pointed out at the end of Cap 2, we are in the age of miracles, and there's nothing more terrifying than a miracle. I believe the MCU will end when, story-wise, the Avengers and the superheroes realize that they are doing they're doing more damage than good now. That perhaps the human race is finally suited up to handle their own fights, and so they don't need superheroes. It's that now the superheroes are causing damage to the cities and putting people in danger, and in instances that could perhaps be contained a lot easier without their superpowers. So, in that regard, they would be okay, maybe it's time to end this. Maybe there would be one last huge fight, but after that, it'd be all right, human race. You guys are good. It's been fun. I mean, otherwise, if it's just a big old fight, and they're gonna be they need us more than ever now because all these villains are coming out of nowhere or coming out of everywhere. So, yeah, but I think it should end conclusively.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. A good conclusion is necessary for this kind of an endeavor. Mm-hmm. Sean, you got anything else to say?
Nah.
Okay.
That's a problem. I don't know the comics well enough to think of an end game. The Justice League series will probably end with Darkseid, because he kills Batman. That's a big deal. Final
deal.
Crisis, I think it's called. He kills Batman. Oh, and by the way, he does kill Batman. I don't care that the comics have him going back to caveman era. That is the stupidest thing ever. Batman is dead. Anyway, I'm so glad they rebooted, so that's no longer an issue.
All right, so we gotta let's rope this back into today. So we love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've established that we wouldn't be having this conversation if that wasn't the case. So the main reason I wanted to have this whole entire conversation is because I feel that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a great role model for other superhero films to look at. And as somebody who loves superheroes and loves comic books, I feel that the MCU is a brilliantly realized idea. And the reason it works so well is, in my opinion, it has thought in it. And I know that sounds really kind of like, ooh, snarky, but it's true. Like, that is why it works so well. There is thought behind everything. And there's thought, like, not only in that regard, but there's also thought around just how it's scoped and who the characters are going to be and what fans want to see. Of course, yes, on a business perspective, yeah, they choose the most famous characters. And yeah, they choose characters fans want to see, of course. Like, I bet they already have, like, 4 of the most famous characters going into Netflix series. Or, not 4 of the most famous, but 4 of the most underground selections. And so, they're probably going to do a Black Panther thing. They're already doing an Ant-Man thing. They're probably going to do a Doctor Strange thing. And these are characters that fans want to see. Marvel is putting fans' dreams to the screen. And that's my theory. Response. Go.
I've often heard.
Well, okay.
Okay,
we have ourselves at
who's
an
going
impasse.
first? Who's going first?
Rock, paper, scissors, Max. Okay, ready?
Oh, God.
What did you do? What did you throw out? No, Max, what did you throw out?
I threw out rock.
Oh, I had paper. Weird. Okay, so my response to that is I don't know. I feel like that's kind of that raises a point why Man of Steel didn't serve as a good intro to a Justice League universe. Because, yeah, we were going to discuss it on the podcast here about Marvel, but where were the other Justice League members? You know,
they weren't around.
Like you said, there's thought going into it. Like, people, when they started Iron Man, they probably knew what Avengers 3 would be like. You know, they know what they're building. But Man of Steel said, hey, let's have this world-ending thing happening that everyone knows about, and for some reason not have Batman fly in. He's not that far away. Gotham's not that far away from Metropolis.
And there's a Gotham's satellite in the film.
Right, so he knew. Wayne Enterprise satellite was hit, so he knows. Wonder Woman definitely would have seen this. It was in the ocean. Where was Aquaman? I mean, the Flash and Cyborg, you can say, oh, they didn't have their powers. But seriously, yes, forethought is good, because Man of Steel doesn't support a Justice League. They have to do a lot of work in the sequel to make that work. They got to really stretch it.
And the thing is, like Man of Steel as its own singular film, and if it wouldn't have been trying to build up to a Justice League, yes, we can say whatever, we don't think it's a good film, but it at least would have been fine that this whole big world-ending thing would have happened. Because if they just said this movie takes place in the universe where none of the other Justice League members are in, that would have been fine.
Yeah, then it's fine.
I don't care about that.
But then they throw in Batman and Wonder Woman. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Where were they?
This MCU is just so smart in like nearly everything that it does. Like it's
so well planned.
Yeah, like Joss Whedon, god damn it, you're awesome. Like, honestly, like can we just establish, like, Joss Whedon is great in how he does and how he feels about this. He, like, I just can't imagine how this started. Like, somebody literally came in and said, I want to make a universe where all the superheroes are
there was a documentary that aired on ABC that kind of went over the origin. You should check it out.
Oh,
it was just a few weeks ago.
And that wasn't Joss Whedon, guys. That wasn't
Joss Whedon was Joss Whedon was brought in midway through Phase 1 to start writing Avengers.
And then who was the person?
Well, I mean, it was a collective of people. I think Kevin Feige was one of the main minds. Like, he's the man behind the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now.
Okay, thank you, that guy. You're awesome. For great. It's just like, because you never would have thought this could happen. You know,
I've always been a big advocate of never say never in film because honestly, the door's wide open.
And yeah, some plans fail, some don't. And even if this plan did fail, which it could have. Oh,
yeah, there are so many
failed.
instances where the Marvel Cinematic Universe could have fallen flat in its face.
Yeah, so easily.
I mean, for an example, the Green Lantern movie was supposed to start the Justice League films.
That's a really stupid idea. Why start a Justice League film on Green Lantern?
Well, because why start a Marvel Cinematic Universe? Why start the MCU on Iron Man, a character that nobody knew
Robert
about?
Downey Jr.
Because Iron Man is a member of the Avengers, one of the most
Hal Jordan's a member of the Justice League. It was the same idea. Just don't take the main guy, take one of the other guys, and have him start the whole thing. Like,
no, but he is very much so a main guy.
No, well, in the Avengers, no.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, aside from Steve Rogers, he is like, he's big, you know? Like, he's a very big member of the team. He's one of the more popular Marvel characters. Granted, he became a lot more popular once the films came out, but still, he's a popular character. Green Lantern is just like sitting on the side. He's just like, hi, I'm part of the team. But who are the main three? Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. All right? Mm-hmm. That's what I feel. Yeah. But anyway, moving on. Anybody else got anything to say?
My kind of theory, my thing about why it's so fun.
All right, go on. Go ahead.
When I was going to Winter Soldier, I wasn't excited because it was the movie. I was excited because it was the next Marvel movie. And I realized it was the same anticipation of the night before a TV episode airs that I like. It felt like, especially something like Game of Thrones, where it is limited, only 10 episodes a season. So it's like, it is kind of episodic. It's like, yes, we're following different heroes, but what happens next in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? It's fun that way.
Do it next time.
Yeah, it feels bigger than just the individual movies. Kind of like how a TV show, you can watch an episode and, oh, that's definitely my favorite episode, or I hated that episode. But the point is the overall thing. So I think Marvel Cinematic Universe is tapping into that. It is episodic. I think that's part of the appeal. You want to see what happens next for everyone, how it impacts Avengers. Avengers is the season finale. Everything that came up, in the season is it's all on display right there for you. That's Avengers. But in the meantime, you've got these episodes that you get to follow the smaller events, things leading up to the bigger ones, and I think that's really cool. And I think they're kind of mixing the best of TV, the most TV that can be mixed in. They're grabbing onto a great aspect of television. So that's why I think it works well.
And then they moved to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which really is in television. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
So.
And isn't that good?
It's good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Max.
My theory, if we're going to be sharing these, is because they're not like... It's because the Marvel Cinematic Universe it's not really that self-indulgent. It's not...
That's true.
It's not so concerned with its own universe all the time. Captain America: The Winter Soldier was really the first time that a movie story really did center around the universe. What these guys have been doing so brilliantly is that they've been taking the story and they've been putting it in there. They've been putting the Marvel Cinematic Universe in there, and little hints and whatnot, but they've been making solo movies that are just damn good. That's their philosophy been from the beginning. Make a damn good movie and then focus on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because whether or not the movie's good, the MCU is still going to be there. It's going to be right there, right, not center stage, but just as the backdrop. So, that's why one of the things that the guys pride themselves on was that Captain America: The Winter Soldier it's not really a superhero movie, it's a political thriller with Captain America. Iron Man 3 is more like an old school comedy snark action adventure with Iron Man. And they're not superhero movies, they're just...
Thor is a superhero movie.
Well, Thor's like a fantasy, I guess.
I mean, what's funny, it's so fantasy, the director is one of the major minds behind Game of Thrones. Yeah. That's how fantasy Thor is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, because they're so focused on making good movies before indulging on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movies turn out great, and that's why I think it works so well. Also, because it does bring a lot of people to expose to new, things they've never seen before, like Guardians of the Galaxy,
definitely.
Luke Cage when that thing comes out,
Ant-Man.
Yeah, and Ant-Man.
Who cares about Ant-Man? Now people will, but before, that was not a big thing in the public eye.
Yeah, it's just an overall, it just gets people exposed to new kinds of media, and it's great. It advertises the comic book industry, it advertises different superheroes from different creators, It's a win-win for everybody, and that's why I think it works so well.
So, thank you, Marvel Cinematic Universe, for all that you've done.
Thank you. That's how we should conclude.
Don't you
this.
screw
Thank
up
you.
on us. We care about you
They
too
will
much.
not. I
Yeah,
would say
thank
that
you.
Phase 2's weakest, which is Thor: The Dark World so far, is still a lot better than Phase 1's weakest. So I think Phase 2, I think they're just improving. So I don't think they're going to mess up at all.
And
we're only human.
Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
as much as you want to kind of like say, oh, they're in it for the money and it's about business. There's a lot about the MCU that doesn't scream, oh, money. We want to manipulate people. And while yes, there is, of course, you got to take that into consideration. There's like just looking at interviews with all the stars and everything like that, and all the like people behind it. You know that the MCU was not formulated to make money, even though, especially because superhero films were a fad, just maybe a little less than a decade ago. Superhero films were a fad. I mean, we saw so many terrible superhero films, Catwoman, Daredevil. They were
Green
just
Lantern.
Oh God, great.
Even more recently, Green Lantern was really bad.
Yeah, and I mean, superhero movies can easily become a fad because the people behind them don't take them seriously. They're films for fanboys. What more could they possibly be?
That's how Man of Steel felt to me, by the way.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, here's Superman punching stuff.
Yeah, exactly. This series of films is more about we want to see legitimate superhero films come to life, and we want to see these characters come to life because they're awesome. And we have so much technology, we can make them come to life. So why waste?
Yeah, it's finally we can do it. It's a lot like Lord of the Rings came around because it was possible all of a sudden.
Right,
and it's
exactly.
same here. Hey, we have awesome CGI. We can do these flashy powers. We can do the flying suits. We can do all of this now. We can do the aliens. We can do the magic. So that's kind of cool that now we are here. Movies have now entered the age of miracles. We can do everything.
Yeah. Ha 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 ha. Indeed.
And that's a great way to tie it up, I must say.
Yeah, indeed.
So thank you, Marvel Cinematic Universe, for taking advantage of the miracle of film, our age of miracles that we're now in, thanks to CGI and other technological advancements.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, what a discussion. This was good.
Yeah.
I like it. Two-parters.
Yeah, we should definitely tell people to let us know what they think, Cinematic Universe. Comments.
Oh, well, of course. Guys, let us know
Twitter
on
and
YouTube.
Stuff. Like, video
YouTube,
responses
Twitter,
would be awesome for
Facebook.
this. There's a lot to say.
And if there's any sort of like cinematic universe that you'd like to see, let us know. Like what other franchises that could come to film become a cinematic universe. I don't think it's just limited to comics.
No,
Yeah,
I don't think so
it could
either.
be tons of different
In
things.
fact,
And
it's in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony, since they announced like
Spider-Man's
Sly
already kinda-
Cooper and
Yeah.
Sony announced like Sly Cooper and Ratchet and Clank movies. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in Jack and Daxter and make their own Sony cinematic universe.
That'd be
that
It's
sweet.
would
entirely
be
possible.
absolutely amazing. Oh my
But again,
can also-
imitation
God, that
is the
sounds great.
sincerest form of flattery, and we have the Marvel Cinematic Universe to thank for the possibility like that even existing.
Right. I want to see that. Please,
Yeah.
Sony, do that. Anyway.
So let us know what you think in the comments below.
Actually,
Yes,
you know
please let
what?
us
Let's
know.
do that as a cinema talk. What cinematic universes do we want to see? I like that idea.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll work on that. Yeah, we'll do that.
Cool.
I don't know if we'll do it next week, depending on... not my phone again!
Oh man, so
No.
close. So close to being done.
No.
Okay, well, you take care of that. I'll wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this
okay.
two-parter. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and you enjoy the Marvel movies, because we do. Hopefully you aren't judging us for nerding out for close to 2 hours now with both parts combined. Again, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or hit
All
us
right,
up on
got that
Twitter. You can follow
situated.
us on Twitter, Facebook, and subscribe. All that good stuff. Larry,
All right,
you back?
I got that... Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I got that situation.
All right, so
Anyway, right.
Get us out.
everything
I've
that
already
Sean
outroed,
everything Sean just said, awesome. My name is Larry.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Max.
And again,
Wow,
guys...
kind of a downer there, Max. Be excited about your name.
And
Good
I'm...
name.
More
Shit,
energy.
what
Who
was-
are you, Max? I want to hear it.
Wait, am I Larry? Wait.
What? That was
think about
Sean. That was Sean.
I'm
He's
confused. I
asking
think
who
my
you
name's
are,
Tony.
Max.
I was told I'm
Oh,
Tony.
is
Yeah, I
don't
thought
know.
my name was Steve.
And it comes full circle.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Now that's
nice.
a bookend.
Very nice. Awesome.
That's
all
a
right,
technical
Well,
guys,
we'll see you all later,
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
guys.
much. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you guys next week.
A treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves